I will try to stay in time. And what I'm going to present today is uh, about resilience based on rootstock. So I'm working in the University of Milano. I am an agrometeorologist and I mostly deal with climate change and environmental conditions and how to deal with the changes that everywhere we are facing. So very, very briefly, an introduction on climate change. You probably know very well this kind of charts. On the left, we have the increase of temperature that we are globally facing right now. And on the right side, you see that regarding global precipitation, here you have the anomaly since the beginning of the last century. And we can see that we have a very high variability, but the average value at the global level is more or less the same. So we do not have trends. But in the end, if we put together those two facts, we have an increase of temperature, an increase of summer heat waves, no generalized trends in precipitation, and very difficult to detect changes in the patterns of precipitation along the seasons. But the final effect is that we have more evapotranspiration and so a higher risk for drought. So if we want to make it in a very simple way, we have the increase of temperature drove a generalized phenological advance. So we have also an earlier harvest date, up to 15 days, more or less. We have also early veraison and ripening, and this is shifting this very important stage in a warmer time of the season. So so vines are facing what we call multiple summer stress. So we have heat waves, we have excess of solar radiation, we have droughts, or we can have. And finally, those changes drive changes in the mast composition. So basically, we can have higher sugar content, lower acidity, changes in the phenolic ripening, and so we can face ripening imbalance. And in the end, we can have a loss of productions both in quantitative and qualitative terms, and also the loss of style and typicality of wines. Here on the left, you see what is the typical framework for adaptation strategies in the vineyard. So we have short, medium, and long term adaptation strategies that we can use in the vineyard to reduce the negative effects of the environmental condition on the management of the vineyard. But we strongly believe, as a viticulture group here in Milano, that it's very important to work on the resilience of the vineyard. So somehow to decrease the sensitivity of vines toward such negative environmental conditions in a more constitutive way. So if we work on site selection, row orientation, variety choice, training system, and rootstock choice, we can make the vineyard more resilient, less sensitive to this condition. And for us, rootstock choice is very relevant, sometimes neglected or not considered, and also is a very wise choice because it does not affect other relevant parts of the vineyard, such as the variety, or also the training system that is also relevant in terms of landscapes and what we communicate with our activities. So we know that the rootstocks is very important in the modern viticulture, and it affects the vegetative growth, the vigor of the vines, the fertility and the production, the phenological timing, and the grape quality. So we can work with very precise effects on the vines. If we look at the rootstock distribution, both at the global level or Italian level, USA level, France level, we see that more or less the most diffuse rootstocks are always the same. So I don't spend much time on this. We know that most of the rootstocks that we still use today were selected a long time ago, in between the second half of the 19th century to the first half of the 20th century. But we also know that in the last 20 years, we had new selection of rootstocks. And among these, you see that I highlighted the M series that you reintroduced before, that we developed, we selected here in Milano. So M1, M2, M3, M4 that were are available since 2014. So here, just to show you how the four M series rootstock compare in terms of geometry of the roots when compared to classical rootstock such as 140 R and 11 triples. So you can see that they have different depths and also different angles, so they can adapt to different conditions. And I will try to explain in the next slides. One of the aspects that we focused in our research in university was the one that we think is the most important right now is the response to water stress. And here you have four rootstocks, so M1 and M4 compared to 110R and SO4. And you see two pictures for each. The first one in well-watered condition and the second one under deficit irrigation. And you can see that the M series rootstock grow the same under drought condition. And we have different parameters, the main root length, the root biomass, the shoot biomass, and the total biomass. And we can see that those rootstocks are very stable under the deficit irrigation. So to summarize, we see stability of performances, both considering the hypogeous biomass, but also the epigeous biomass. So we know that they are able to transfer this stability also to the vines, to the varieties. Always regarding water stress, we made this experiment considering ungrafted rootstock, and the colored lines on the right chart gives you the idea of different water availability. So dark blue is field capacity, and we go down to severe water stress with red. And we can see that the efficiency of photosystems, the transpiration rate, and the water use efficiency of M4 is the black dot, engrafted with Pinot Blanc, is higher than 11 triples. That is a very good rootstock when it comes to drought. And on the left, you can see that comparing different rootstock with the M series, the M series is very close to 11 triples and close to SO4, so close to good rootstock when it comes to water deficit. 103% and M4 particularly showed similar strategies that are tolerant strategies to counteract water stress. So a higher water use efficiency, higher net photosynthesis, a decrease in transpiration. So under severe water stress, M4 reported higher photosynthetic activity, transpiration, water use efficiency than 11 triples. So again, we see that we obtain good performances in this regard. And here we have just a table with some of the traits and the differences between M2, M4, and 11 triples, and with M4 very close to 11 triples, but with a lower, medium to low vigor compared to the high vigor of 11 triples. Also, the geometry of the root system is similar, with most of the roots with a small angle, a 30-degree angle. Very deep expanded roots and very good at occupying the soil volume in a very quick time. Always regarding, again, regarding water stress, we can see comparing M4 to SO4. This is an experiment made in Piacenza by the group of Professor Poni. And here we have the rootstock grafted with Sangiovese, and the black dots represent the control, so good water availability, and the white dots and triangles represent the water stress condition. And we see the increase of water use efficiency of M4 in water deficit condition. So again, this is a rootstock that improves its performances when we have a deficit in water availability. There are other aspects that we checked. Again, this is another experiment made in Piacenza, and we see that M1 and M3 have a very quick response to nitrogen supply. So the first bar is no nitrogen, the second is 2 grams per plant, and the third one is 4 grams per plant. And you see the comparison with 101.14 and 11.3%. And you see that while 101.14 and 11.3% have a linear increase of performances, increasing the nitrogen level, with M1 and M3, we just need 2 grams of nitrogen to increase the performances. So the rootstocks are quick and effective, have a quick and effective response to nitrogen. And this is a good trait because it helps in a very quick establishment of a vineyard and a very quick response to the management during the season. So again, a good effect of such kind of rootstocks. Regarding the production, here we compare the different rootstocks in terms of vigor and production per plant. More or less, you see that on the left that there is a linear relationship, more or less, between vigor and production, and that the M series have different traits also in terms of, depending on the rootstock you choose, have different performances in terms of vigor and production. What is interesting is that we made an experiment of 5 years in 5 Italian regions, grafting Cabernet Sauvignon with the different rootstocks, and we made for each region an analysis on the effect of the role of the rootstock. And we came out with the statistical analysis stating that more or less 45% of the variability is explained by rootstocks and rootstocks interaction with year and variety. So again, this is a way to underline how important is the rootstock choice in terms of future performances of the vineyard. Finally, I want to focus on the effects of quality. This is an experiment we made in 2022 in Tuscany, in Montalcino, with Sangiovese. And you see the performances of M1, M2, M4 compared with SO4 in terms of sugar accumulation, alcoholic content, total polyphenols, and anthocyanins. So you can see that both in terms of main and secondary metabolism, we have very good performances, and we can have very good quality and rich quality of masts. So one of the most important things is also to check the quality, the final quality of mast and wines in order to choose an effective rootstock for our production. And this is a 4-year experiment made in Franciacorta on Chardonnay. So we are talking about sparkling wine basis. And you see 11 3-Paulsen, SO4 and M4. And in those 3 charts, you have a relationship between sugar level and acidity. And in Franciacorta, usually the harvest is around 19 bricks, so the sugar content is around 19. And you see that at 19, M4 has an average of 7.2 grams per liter of total acidity, while 11 3-Paulsen has 7, and SO4 is 6.5. And also considering the slope of the dots of the different points, you can see that M4 and SO4 have a less steep angle than 11 3-Paulsen. So it does mean that you can manage acidity, very important for sparkling wine, in a better way. I have to highlight that SO4 is probably one of the most used in the region. And you see that just after 19 sugar, 19 bricks, you have a steep decrease looking at the dots in acidity. So M4 is able to maintain a good level of acidity and also to accumulate a good amount of sugar. So it's a little bit earlier, so you have to manage a different harvest, but this earliness is balanced by a good amount of acidity. Very relevant in that context, especially considering the rise of temperature that we faced. So in conclusion, we want to highlight the choice of rootstock is a powerful tool to improve the vineyard resilience. And probably the relevance of this choice is often underestimated. For sure, we have to take into account the place where we are working. So the climate, the soil, the variety, the grafting affinity, the production target, and the enological goal. So we know that the new breeding is needed and the introduction of new rootstocks is needed, and that we have also to support with new research in different areas with different enological targets to explain to winemakers and to wine growers what they can get out of a proper rootstock choice. Again, going back to one of the first slide, I would say that adaptation is tactical, but resilience is strategical. So if we can build up a more resilient vineyard, we are able to fight better against climate changes and climate variability. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any question, I'm here.